Hey, you lukewarm egoists. Subscribe to Suki. Or don't. Be a joke of a striker all your life if you want. Or be a strong egoist by subscribing right now. Your choice.
With the U20 World Cup commencing, the Blue Lockers who dominated the original U20 members until their own member Shido came in to make things rough for them, then went to dominate the rest of the non-Blue Locker NEL contestants. Now we are entering a stage where the Blue Lockers will face the best of the U20 players, especially the new Gen 11. But we won't see the Blue Lockers face them all, since considering the fact that they're only going to play 8 matches at best, meaning we will get something like Haikyuu where we will see some side matches like they did with Nekoma vs Sarakura Tech and Fukuro Dani vs Muji Nazaka. With that, let me know in the comment section which non-Japan match would you like to see in the tournament. I would like to see Germany vs Italy, Kaiser vs Lorenzo rematch, Spain vs USA to see that USA new Gen 11. My favorite would be Germany vs Spain, Kaiser vs Bunny. I know these guys don't have a lot of common, but it could be like a Sasuke vs Deidara banger type of match if done right. There is so much hype, but throughout all that chaos lays a dark future for one of the best in the world right now, Itoshi Rin. I have a Discord page if you would like to hang out with me and other Blue Lock fans. Join up in the link in the description. I have YouTube memberships if you want to join and help support the channel. If you broke, you can always just subscribe. That would do me a whole lot of good as well. Now onto the video. I should have a timestamp or chapters for the actual downfall as first. So if you want to go straight to that, you can. But first, I want to actually take a look into what actually made Rin the best striker of Japan, and what will lead to his upcoming downfall. Because if you need to find a downfall, you need to figure out how he was doing well beforehand. We are introduced to Itoshi Rin in chapter 40, where he makes a play making his 2 balls touch each other. He takes Aryu and Tokimitsu as his teammates since they were ranked 2nd and 3rd. He states his only reason for entering Blue Lock was to win and represent the U20 Japan team and surpass his older brother. That is his purpose of playing soccer. This is because if he represents Japan, there are no way scouts from big clubs won't notice his immense talent, which would bring him to a stage that Sai had always pushed him to be. They decimate Isagi's team in a 3v3 challenge without any worry. Then he stole Isagi's boyfriend Bachira from that team and then faced off against Isagi in a 4v4 matchup. This is the game that truly started making Rin have to try in Blue Lock and build up his first rivalry with Isagi. The first person to challenge him in terms of controlling the field, not through sheer power but the way they use their eyes and soccer IQ. In this match, this wasn't just a rivalry with Rin. I believe this was the first time he could play soccer with a challenge that didn't involve surpassing his older brother, a rivalry or a goal that didn't involve Isagi. It had to have been intriguing for Rin to deal with this challenge. To wrap this mini yapping session up, this matchup is so beautiful not only because of the unpredictability hype we get from this, the fact that Blue Lock still had this back in the 2nd selection, but for the fact that with Rin and Isagi being light and shadow, this was the first light Rin saw in football that didn't rely on Itoshi's Sai. Isagi was able to see through Rin's first plays, so he read his play well. In chapter 76, Nagi states Rin and Isagi are going back and forth against each other in terms of controlling the field. The one thing Isagi was lacking was in the physical department. Isagi for one moment even surpasses Rin's future by stopping Bachira, but Rin still won thanks to luck. To advance to the World 5 matchup where he scores the only goal for the team, thanks to a super fast combo play from Bachira assisting him and Rin devouring Isagi. Rin was the only one who could understand Loki's play but didn't have the physical means to stop him, showing he understood the pro level better than the rest of his peers. In chapter 92, Isagi and Bachira start to lose any hope of beating the All-Stars. However, Rin does not yield to these behemoth All-Stars even when down 1-4. This makes Luna praise him for believing he still has a shot at winning, so he decides to discourage him with his whole heart, leading to Rin discovering loss for the first time since his 1v1 with Sai. Now in the 3rd selection, I was surprised how well they handled Rin, especially when teaming with Isagi, with Kaneshiro having to write in new characters such as Karasu and Otoya, Blue Lock's top 3 and 4 in the Blue Lock story, and this match was having the theme about the top 6 and coexertion. You would expect them to use Rin well, but to me, I've watched enough shonen anime and manga and played enough video games to know when the character is gonna be useless unless the arc is about them, especially when they go from villain to hero. However, we have none of that here, as Rin performs as dominantly as ever, and the one nerf stopping him from winning this game by himself, which would be bad for Isagi as he wouldn't make the starting 11 that way, was Shido. Another person who scores ludicrous amounts of goals. These guys are polar opposites, as Shido dominates inside the box and Rin is kind of the person who will dominate the whole field. So having a section of where Rin needs to dominantly be in to dominate and score goals through is already dominated by someone else. So if two people are dominating that same area equally, it will lead to collisions. Therefore, the two of them would have to butt heads. And this was a perfect nerf that allowed Isagi to score and make his case to make the starting 11. And we had already been given pre-notice about Shido being a beast in chapters 88, 89, and 93, so it made sense. It wasn't an out of nowhere cop-out, it just perfectly flowed into the story. Kaneshiro really did a brilliant job on not nerfing anyone in this match. The other games he dominated were no surprise there. We know that Rin was supposed to be the main character of the U20 Japan exhibition match arc, so we know he was supposed to do well, as it was carried by the rivalry of him and his brother. I already talked a lot about the Itoshi Bros face-off, so if you would like a recap of that, there's a video about that in my Sai Itoshi and Itachi Uchiha are not the same character video, where I talk a lot about Sai and Rin's story, so I'm trying to not involve Sai in this video as much. Now, in the end of the match, Sai comes over to tell Rin he was wrong about Japan, that Japan can produce a proper striker. The one who drew out Rin's instincts and would change Japanese soccer is Yoichi Isagi. Rin misunderstands what Sai truly meant, because obviously in the physical department and goal scoring department as well, Rin is better than Isagi. But Isagi has a similar gift to that of Sai, which is drawing the best out of both ally and foe. In chapter 143, we see what exactly Sai meant in terms of that match itself, as when Rin had failed to stop Sai by himself, as he fought, Sai would pass to IQ but instead pass to Shido instead. In that moment, Rin was ready to accept defeat, something he didn't even consider against the World 5, but yet he is doing that here because when Rin was at his absolute best at that current stage of the story, Sai still fooled him. He was ready to admit he lost and can't surpass his older brother just yet. But Isagi comes in and ruins that brotherly event. This pissed off Rin to the point where he realized from this one play, BlueLock is devouring his style of soccer, where Rin fights alone for control of the whole entire field. They were interrupting the 1v1 Itoshi Bros battle by always butting in like Isagi had just done. To that, Rin replies, "It feels awful," before declaring he will ruin Isagi. Rin in chapter 152 starts self-hating on himself just because Sai praised Isagi instead of his own little brother, saying it was obvious to anyone that Isagi dominated that game, which I will say he did dominate the second half, but to say he dominated the whole game is a lie. Now his goal is to crush both Sai and Isagi. Now we can truly get into the ego crisis downfall of Rin. Even after destroying himself and regaining his own ego because of the fact his whole origin of playing soccer is because of Sai, his own ego still falls in the spell of Sai Itoshi. It didn't matter how he played, whether through the talented learner style of Sai or his genius destroyer style. He is still playing soccer for the same purpose, which is looking like it's going to haunt him in the future. Entering the NEL, we have to look at 3 players: Rin, Isagi, and Nagi, the main characters of the story. All of them have goals. Some of them are side goals, and some of them are the main goals. For Nagi, his side goal was just getting by in BlueLock until he had the chance to finally crush Isagi. So crushing Isagi was his main goal, that his own ego thrived for, with one of the side goals being meeting RAITO again to tell him how much he's grown as a person, as that was his second selection journey after he lost Isagi. The promise of winning the World Cup with RAITO, however, was a challenge thrown to Nagi by RAITO, not his own challenge. And we saw how well Nagi took the 300 million yen challenge. Isagi had a side goal of a protagonistic feeling in this arc of beating Kaiser, with his main goal being beating Noel to become the world's best striker. For Rin, it's destroying Isagi and then surpassing his brother, being his ultimate goal. The reason Isagi never hit the nagi slump when achieving his goal of beating Kaiser is because Noah helped him discard the noise of false ideals of getting a goal that would be far above Isagi's talent, which could have potentially made Isagi go through a hard path like what Ego alluded to Yukimiya about, and actually did happen to Nagi. The second reason is that Kaiser is more of a side quest, no matter how hard of a challenge beating Kaiser is, because oh boy is beating a new Gen 11 striker, the world's best rookie, Michel Kaiser. It's not his ultimate test, like beating Isagi was to Nagi. Isagi's ultimate test is to be the number one world's best striker. For Rin, beating Isagi is just a side quest like Kaiser is to Isagi. Rin's ultimate goal is to surpass his brother. His rivalry with Isagi is because Sai praised Isagi instead of Rin. So if I understand this right, in Rin's perspective, if Rin obliterates Isagi, he can show his brother how much better he is than Isagi and then surpass his older brother. In the NEL, we see how well he did against Ubers as he scored 2 goals, earning him a 36 million yen bid by PXG. Since PXG had the week 2 break, we don't get any Rin details until chapter 239, where we see Rin score a hat-trick against Munchen City, a team Isagi won man of the match against, probably wanting to crush the same team Isagi proved his worth against, so Rin could pump himself up for when he has to meet Isagi again. Then thanks to Nagi, we get an important Rin update. Oi, Rin Itoshi, you just keep getting stronger. It's amazing. What is it that's driving you so hard? Rin responds, surpassing Itoshi and obliterate Isagi. That confuses things, as we have to speculate which comes first in his agenda, surpassing Sai or obliterating Isagi. But before my brain even had the time to process that, Nagi asks the real important question that prompted me to make this video way back on February 13th, 2024, when I brought this up to Battlecore. The question Nagi asks is, what about when it's all over? What comes next? Nagi is asking this because, like I previously stated, Nagi had already hit his final goal and is trying to figure out a solution, as right now he is confused at what to do now. That in his mind he cleared the final boss of the game, so he is wondering what is next for him. So by asking Rin what he would do when he clears his own final boss, he is hoping to get an answer, a clarity that Nagi Seishiro so clearly desires. To that, Rin says, who cares? Do babies think about death when they are born? After they're born, they have no choice but to live their lives with all they've got, and either heaven or hell they shall enter. To that, Rin states he will decide his own story. He said, as this place is filled with tepid losers, his decision is to go down straight to hell. This explains a lot and makes total sense, as most of us humans have our lives determined for us due to genetic traits or the environment we are born in, and it is down to us to do our best to fight and make sure we survive no matter the circumstances. This perfectly summarizes what the NEL is all about. Bachua states in chapter 154, it's not about making the right choice, it's about making the choice you decided on the right one. That's how you become the world's best, and it's not about the reason you can trust in, but intuition. Something Sai says Rin relies on too much. Makes sense that two geniuses had similar analysis about this topic. Even Ego states in the previous chapter that whether your choice is good or bad, you can be assured it's going to turn your life upside down. This perfectly relates to Rin's story of soccer. He was brought into the world of soccer thanks to his older brother Sai, and was promised that he would be the second world's best striker right behind his brother, who would be the number one world's best striker. This means that Rin was brought into a fantasy, but because of Sai betraying that promise to his little brother, Rin was still forced to fight in this soccer world without the purpose that he had been fighting for the entire time. So Rin is saying when he finishes that story, he will simply burn in hell. This correlates with Rin's words in chapter 271 when he talks about how he doesn't care about the hero. He likes the ultimate monster. He loves how he risks his own life to defeat someone stronger than him. No matter how wounded he is, he fights to the end. He ends it all saying he wants to fight someone super cool and then destroy them. And then die. So to that, if he can surpass his older brother and destroy Isagi with all he has, he can die and burn in hell. Rin starts to lose interest in Isagi, who at the time had no response for Rin's ultimate form, saying if he can't fight him with his life on the line, he is a failure of a striker. At this point in the story, Berserker Rin has definitely surpassed Exhibition Match Sai. I don't want to hear any of those in the comment section saying Sai is still above that version of Rin. But yeah, because of Rin's self-hatred being so bad, he starts seeing himself inferior to Sai as he sees phantoms of Sai. Whenever he is about to shoot, Phantom Sai will make that short course seem worthless. He can't see any way of surpassing his brother, so he goes to that side quest I mentioned as Isagi becomes an impulse that Rin can actually destroy at that moment, as he destroys Isagi to score the equalizing goal for his team. This moment reminds me of two other fictional pieces being Bleach and Haikyuu. For Bleach, in chapter 523, we have a character who limits his strength for the hope of finding entertaining fighters, being the 11th seeded Captain Kenpachi Zaraki, versus the first ever Kenpachi, the first 11th seeded Captain Yaijiro Unohana, the first Kenpachi. Zaraki usually has an eye patch to restrict his own strength, and the fact he only uses one hand, it's hard to believe he's actually enjoying the fight. After their first ever fight, he couldn't have that same bliss again, so he subconsciously restricted his powers to the very limit in every battle we see him engage in the series up to that point. They both learned pleasure from that battle, but Kenpachi only saw that pleasure by having a close and intense match. That was Unohana's sin. For Tobio Kageyama in chapter 387 of Haikyuu, we see he was a monster in one match when he was young but started holding back on his serves towards the end of the game so he could enjoy the game a bit longer. During the walk home, his father promises, "If you get really good, I promise you, someone who's even better, someone stronger, will come find you." That person who challenged him as a teammate and a rival being Shoyo Hinata, who made Tobio Kageyama the man he is today. He reflects on this while having so many monsters to set to who rival his strength and strong opponents he must crush. For Kenpachi, when he kills Unohana, she asks, "What is there to cry about? Sure, now you have regained your strength and defeated me. You may return to the days when all your fights were just boring games, but right now, you have worthy opponents to fight. You have allies who rival you now. And most of all, you have a partner who has awakened beside you." Both Kageyama and Kenpachi find peace in having rivals and friends who challenge and build up their strengths and ideologies. But when Rin sees this at first glance in chapter 143, he feels disgusted by it. However, in chapter 276, he finally embraces the fact that there is someone actively trying to devour his soccer when he rushes through Sai's phantom, Yoichi Isagi. He is glad he made him his rival. He claims it makes him stronger. He claims Isagi's duty is to try and kill him until he dies. This shows his obsession with Sai, at least for now, has been replaced by the impulse to crush Isagi. It was kind of 50-50 with that statement in chapter 240, but now it's clear Isagi is Rin's main goal, and he makes it a lifetime goal, and not just a final boss goal like Nagi did. That's why when Rin beats Isagi with a goal Isagi couldn't stop with all his might, just like Nagi's 5-stage volley, he doesn't have an ego crisis, rather, he has an ego awakening. Isagi has once again awakened a genius, partly because it was all due to his own talent, unlike Nagi who relied on Rail to complete his goal. So he just got satisfied on playing soccer with Rail. For Rin, he was not satisfied. Just like the mutations he would undergo in this match, his fire grew a greater source of hunger to repeatedly kill Isagi until he can't come back against Rin anymore. Also, shout out for Loki for being such a big deal, getting BlueLock #1 trending on social media. Dark Chocolate King always working miracles. Basen Munchen takes advantage of Rin's irrational destroyer state on many occasions through Ikaguri and the combo of Isagi and Kaiser to take him down. He finally cooled down to his irrational state in chapter 289. However, when Isagi is about to score, Rin at the 11th hour awakens again into the mutated talented learner X genius monster, where he adapts his puppeteer rational playstyle alongside his own berserker state playstyle, culminating everything we know of Rin into one entity. He uses this to break up the coordination with Isagi and Kaiser in chapter 290. However, just like when men see Huda and Love Island, Rin succumbs to the pleasure by crashing into Kaiser, which leads to PXG losing the match as they never gain any momentum on offense after this play. In chapter 295, Rin receives a bid from Larial and the number 1 spot in BlueLock tied with Isagi. Rin calls the idea that the world wants Isagi and Rin to be rivals fire. In chapter 305, we see what Rin's training is as he is in a Buddha temple, probably the one Igaguri paid for, I'm dead, trying to once more reflect on his ego. And even though Isagi is his biggest impulse to crush, you can only run away from that original impulse for so long, before having to confront it again, as sweeping it under the rug for a new impulse is not the answer. I think Ego wants Rin to merge his destruction with his beauty, like how he kind of did in chapter 290 for a destructive, beautiful, yin-yang, egoistic style for Rin's ultimate football. This was the best version of Rin Itoshi we saw, the most truest version of Rin Itoshi we saw before he gave in to the pleasure of crushing Kaiser, which led to PXG losing, as they never got any more momentum after that play. Now let's get back to what I talked about in the beginning, how BlueLock is finally going to get introduced to the world. And one character was stubborn. Before being introduced to it, Rin, as side noted, had no idea what he is up against. He has no idea how tough the world is, as Sai stated in chapter 124. His first experience to the pro players almost broke him, as Luna's words really tore into Rin. His next experience confirmed with a pro was with Loki. After he failed to score off of his pass, Loki regarded Japan as worthless, as it would be at least 10,000 years before the world's best striker comes from Japan. Similar to Luna calling everything Japan has worked up to nothing. Why is it the people with the L's in their names giving Rin L's, bro? So now Rin has 2 encounters in the professional world, both times igniting racial encounters. Now he is going against West African trash talkers in Nigeria. And as a Cameroonian, they are my neighbors, so fair warning to Rin, if they get the lead on you guys, they will talk the everlasting smack on your name. Then he has to deal with Loki right after Nigeria, then another colonizer country in England. This is going to be a trash talk mountain on Rin's name. Rin is really going to have to do his best to not go crazy, crash out, destroyer mode on them and get a red card. Yeah, but England, who has their own fans calling their own black boys Rashford, Sterling and Saka out for failing to win the Euro 2020, imagine how they're going to throw that energy at Japan. Yeah, English fans be wild sometimes, so yeah, I really want to see how that goes against Japan. Now, somewhere in this World Cup, Rin and Sai will meet up, which will open up old wounds for Rin. Whether it's Bunny, Sai, or another person or another thing, I'm pretty sure the truth of Itoshi Sai will be revealed later on in this arc, assumingly when they face Spain. This will mess Rin's mindset up a lot, just like how the truth of Itachi did to Sasuke. Then we will see a new Rin with a new goal, whatever that may be, after they defeat Spain, because I believe Kanashiro is looking for a Japan vs France final. We will see the Itoshi Bros at full power versus Loki. Now, Rin has much more character development to go even after the U20 World Cup, as he has now gotten the right to enter the same place that broke down his brother, as he was bidded by La Real, the same team that Sai Itoshi was playing for. So now we will have to see how Rin will face against the person who tried to discourage him, Leonardo Luna. How will Rin fare against the brutality of Spain? Will this send him to hell, as he alluded to back in chapter 240, or will he evolve in hopes to do what his brother couldn't do, become the world's best striker, and not give into Spain's ideals? Only time will tell. I believe in Nariel he will just be a force to be reckoned with, and maybe he and Sai wins the Champions League together. Do I think Rin will have a downfall like Nagi? No, but Rin will surely have a rocky road ahead of him in the mental facility, as he is going to be hit with 2 flashback no jutsu and face the same path his brother faced. These two mountains will change Rin Itoshi for better or for worse. Man, if there was anything I would like you guys to learn from this video is never suppress your limits. As I've shown through Rin, Kageyama, and Kenpachi, it will only hinder the growth you have to do. In the future, you will always meet someone who will rival what you could have done at your best. So if you limit yourself, you won't be ready for obstacles that actually challenge the best of you. And you will fail, and then that could lead you to an ego crisis. But one thing to note is you don't surpass your limits like how the Saiyans in Dragon Ball talk about. More of, you don't hinder your limits either by regressing yourself like the three characters I just mentioned. What you should do is push your limits every day. By working on the same techniques every day, you push your limits slightly. And even if things seem boring, someone will catch up to you one day. That's enough talking for one video. What do you guys think is going to happen in Rin Itoshi's future? Leave it in the comments section. And on to the next one. Stay blessed. Suki out. Never limit yourself. Always find ways to get stronger, to slowly push your limits day by day. Because if you don't push yourself or do anything productive in a day, then what was the point of living that day? Every day we're supposed to get stronger, so any time wasted, any years wasted of no progression is a year wasted of your life. So every day we have to build ourselves up to the future. Thank you for watching. Alright, I'm out for real this time. Stay blessed, y'all.